Talia.
Get up, I shook Luciano awake as I sat down on his bed. He got up quickly and looked at me in confusion, rubbing his still sleepy eyes. Talia, he asked, confused. What are you doing here? Get up, I shook his shoulders, ignoring his last question. He sat up on the bed and ruffled his hair. What's up, Bambi? Why'd you wake me up at, he glanced at the bedside clock. 4 o'clock in the morning? Get dressed, I said. We're going on a date. His eyes widened in surprise, and his posture straightened. What? Date? He asked, perplexed. I chuckled and removed the duvet from his body. Yes, a date. So, get up. What's gotten into you, Bambi? You're the one asking me on a date? I nodded my head. Why? Don't you want to? I cocked one of my eyebrows. I want to, he quickly answered. But I haven't planned for a second date yet, he reasoned. Why don't we go tomorrow? He gently asked. I shook my head. I want to go now, I said. You don't have to plan for this all. We're just going on a morning hike. Just the two of us? He asked with hopeful eyes. I smiled in amusement. Yes, I said. Do you want me to take back my words? He quickly shook his head. No. No, he said. Be down in 10 minutes, I said, standing up from his bed and leaving the room. I went down the stairs to wait for him to finish getting ready. I kept my gaze on the clock, and after 10 minutes, he finally came down. I stood up from the couch and placed my hand in my pockets. Let's go, I told him, being the first one to leave the house. He followed after me, jogging, to be able to walk by my side. Where are we going? He asked. I smiled at him before holding onto his wrist. He was surprised for a bit, but he didn't complain. Instead, he moved his hand to capture mine into his, intertwining our fingers together. To my favorite place, I responded to his last question. Asterisk. I breathed in the fresh air as soon as we arrived at the flower garden that I loved so much. The air was already fresh in Amari Coast, but it was even cleaner in this open area. Whoa, Luciano exclaimed as he looked at the view in front of him. We were on top of a small hill, and below this was a myriad of colorful flowers surrounded by green grass. I sat down on a clean patch of grass and patted the spot next to me. He unhesitatingly sat down, but his eyes were still on the view in front of him. How did you find this place? He asked, a little bit breathless. I, too, gazed at the beautiful view, one that made me save my own life. This is the place where I tried to kill myself, I bluntly said. He gazed at me sharply. The two of us were engulfed in complete silence after that. Luciano was probably still too shocked by my sudden confession. I let out a sigh as I played with the grass underneath my feet. It was when I was 6 months pregnant with Lucille, and it was also the time that I found out that Mrs. Ferry, Grandpa Ferry's wife, actually had a chronic illness. Even with the short amount of time that we had spent together, I already considered her to be my mother. I smiled as I remembered the image of Grandma Ferry. She was my backbone at the time when I felt like I was at the lowest of my life. I was 18 years old, pregnant, and I didn't know anything about the real world. Everything was just so new to me, but Grandma Ferry made me feel reassured. She was my backbone. So when I heard that she was dying, I thought that I should die too. He placed his hand over my thigh and drew circles on the soft skin. I was glad that he was letting me speak without interrupting me. I ran away from home. And that's how I ended up here. I considered just jumping down from this hill, but seeing the flowers below made me stop. I didn't want to taint such a beautiful place. And when I saw the flowers blooming in the cold weather, it made me feel inspired. It made me feel that life is beautiful and that in time I, too, will bloom. I smiled as I looked at the flowers beneath the hill. It's a good thing that I came here, I said. Otherwise, I don't even know if I'll still be here. I'm very grateful for this place. It's the place that allowed me to meet Lucille, my little flower. I ended the story with a smile on my face. I glanced at Luciano and saw that he had the opposite expression as mine. "What's wrong?" I asked out of worry. "I'm sorry," he said in a broken voice. "I'm sorry, Talia." He didn't call me Bambi, so I knew that he was being serious. I chuckled and shook my head. "You don't even know what you're sorry for." "I know," he said. "It's because I disregarded your feelings when Renee died, right?" I shook my head. "I'm not that shallow," I said. "I'm also guilty of what happened to Renee before. I can't really blame you for acting that way. The reason why I left 4 years ago is because of your conversation with your father." He turned to me. "What do you mean?" "Talia and I are nothing. She's my guard, for fuck's sake. Nothing else. She could die this very second, and I won't even fucking care." I finally said those statements without any emotion. Up until now, I still remember each and every word that he said, word per word, syllable per syllable. He froze, so I knew that he remembered his own words. "That day, I was planning on telling you about Lucille. So, I went to your office, hoping we could celebrate the good news together. Despite my nerves, I decided to tell you, because I knew that you deserved to know." I let out a shaky breath. "But when I got to your office, I heard you and your dad talking." He continued listening. "Those were the exact words that you said." I looked him in the eyes. His eyes were filled with so much regret that they brought tears to mine. I sniffed and wiped the tears from my eyes. "Do you know how scared I was?" I asked in a broken voice. "I was so fucking scared, Luciano. I thought we had something special. I thought you liked me, at least. Heck, I never knew that you wanted me to die, that you wanted me and our child to die." "No," he choked out, taking my breath away as he embraced me in his arms. "No, Talia. I didn't mean any of the words I said. Believe me, please." I broke our hug and sobbed even louder. "You wouldn't say those words if you didn't mean them." He raked his hands through his hair. "I know. But at that moment, I had to say it. Even though it brought a bitter taste to my tongue, I had to say it." He bit his lips. "At that time, I knew that I was already far too in our relationship," he smiled. "My beautiful guard, whom I never imagined falling in love with, managed to capture my heart." I let out a small smile, despite my tears. "I wanted to show you off to the world, to call you mine. But our lives aren't as easy as that. Our lives were never as easy as 1, 2, 3. My dad found out about our relationship." He looked down at his lap. I felt my heart stop. That day, he confronted me about it. He thought that I was getting soft. I wasn't as ruthless as I was before, and he blamed it on you. "You know how my father is," he sighed. "Once he sets his eyes on something, he'll definitely achieve that goal no matter what. It just so happens that he had a hint about our special relationship, and he wanted to intervene. So, I told him those words. I told him that I didn't care about you, so you wouldn't become his target. But God knows that I didn't mean those words, Bambi. Not even a word. Not even a syllable." His story came to an end, yet my heart still felt standstill. After a moment of silence, I couldn't hold back my cry. He looked at me with a panicked look and held onto both of my cheeks. "Bambi, why are you crying? Are you all right? Does anything hurt?" he asked worriedly. I brought up my fist and hit his chest. "I hate you. I hate you so much," I cried. He sighed and pulled me into a warm embrace. "I know, Bambi. I'm the worst. Hit me all you want." I cried into his neck as he whispered soothing words into my ear. "Why aren't you angry?" I asked. "You should hate me for ruining everything." I overreacted, and now here we are, 4 years later, both broken because of my stupidity. "You're not stupid," he placed a kiss on top of my head. "You were rational, Bambi." "I wasn't," I said. He chuckled and placed another kiss on my forehead. "You're still so stubborn, aren't you? I could say the same thing for you." That's why we fit so well together, he smiled. I also managed to let out a smile. He sighed and wiped my cheeks with the pad of his thumbs. Kidding aside, I'm not mad at you, Talia. And you shouldn't be mad at yourself either. What happened in the past was already done. There's no point in dwelling on it now. What's important is that the two of us have each other now. But, I sniffed. If I only listened to you back then. If I didn't jump to conclusions. My statement was cut off when I felt Luciano's lips above mine. It wasn't heated, nor was it rushed. It was just a mere touching of lips, yet it felt like it healed my heart. Only after a few seconds, he pulled away, leaving me speechless. Let's not talk about it. I'm really fine. We're fine. I slowly nodded my head as if hypnotized by his eyes. Look, he suddenly said, making me snap my gaze away from him. The sun is rising. I turned my head to the side and gasped when I saw the sun rising to the sky. The once dull atmosphere was now illuminated by an orange tint, and I couldn't look away. The two of us just sat there, unmoving, while watching the magnificent sunrise. At that moment, I realized that we were like the sunrise. And this is our new beginning.
Talia.
Shall we go on our third date? I asked Luciano, who is currently holding me as we watched some Disney movies on his laptop. It was already nighttime, and we were snuggled in my bed, dressed in comfortable pajamas and eating oily junk food as we watched some movies. Lucille was already tucked in bed, so the two of us were able to spend some time alone. I glanced back at him and frowned when he didn't respond. Luciano, I said, causing him to snap out of his thoughts. What? He asked. I chuckled and shook my head. Shall we go on another date tomorrow? It's actually Lucille's first day at school, so we could send her to school, have some fun, then come back to fetch her during lunchtime. I frowned in confusion when I saw his facial expression. He looked constipated, with his face twisted in worry. I sat up from the bed and looked at him. Is there something wrong? He slowly shook his head. I sighed. I thought we were going to be more honest with each other from now on. Come on, tell me. I don't want to, he muttered under his breath, but I still heard it. Oh, I said, disappointment evident in my voice. Okay. I went out of his hold. I just thought that. No. He interrupted me. It's not like that. I chuckled. Am I misunderstanding something? I thought we already made up. We did. He nodded my head. It's just that, this'll be our third date. I raised one of my eyebrows. And so? It means that it's our supposed last date. I hummed, still not getting what he was trying to say. It's supposed to be our last date, he emphasized. I don't want it to be our last date, he confessed. So, as much as possible, I want to hold that third date. I looked at him in disbelief before bursting into full-blown laughter. What? He sheepishly asked. You're so stupid. I nudged his shoulder. We've already made up. Of course, the dates will be limitless at this point. He looked at me with wide eyes. Why are you acting so surprised? It's just, I never expected this at all. I sighed and went closer to him, holding onto his hand. I love you, I told him. He took a sharp intake of breath before tightening his hold on my hand. He rubbed my hand with the pad of his thumb, then lifted it to place a kiss on top. I love you too. Thank you, he sincerely said, for giving us another chance. Thank you, too, I smiled. So, shall we go on another date? He nodded his head. Asterisk. My baby is so pretty, I said as I finished braiding Lucille's hair. Her hair was parted in the middle, and I tied them into braided pigtails. Paired with her pink dress and backpack, she looked downright adorable. We went out of the room, where her dad was waiting for her. His eyes sparkled in delight as soon as he saw her walk out of the room. Oh my goodness! Who is this pretty little girl? He gushed. Lucille giggled and leaned her head against his shoulder. I shook my head in disbelief. I can't believe my child is such a sucker for her dad. Do I look pretty? She asked, batting her eyelashes. He squeezed her cheeks before placing a kiss on top of her head. The prettiest, he said, causing me to interfere. Even prettier than me? I asked. He chuckled. You're both the prettiest. Are you excited to go to school? He asked Lucille. She shook her head, causing me to become surprised. I thought you wanted to meet some friends. I sat down next to the two of them. But what if they don't like me? She pouted. They're going to like you, honey. I reassured her. How can they not like the prettiest and sweetest girl in the entire school? Besides, if somebody hurts you, I'll make sure to cut there. I glared at Luciano, causing him to shut his mouth. You're going to make friends, honey. Just be yourself. Okay, she said in a soft voice. So, shall we go? I asked. She excitedly nodded her head before hopping off of the couch. The three of us went to Luciano's car to drive to Lucille's new school. As soon as we got there, the bustling environment filled with children immediately made me smile. This was Lucille's first day of school, and I was glad that she was able to celebrate it with a complete family. I glanced back at Lucille and saw her nervously fiddling with her dress. I frowned and reached out my hand to hold on to hers. What's wrong, honey? I'm scared, she whispered. I sighed and adjusted my seat so I could come closer to her. I already told you, honey. They're not going to hate you. I'm scared, Mommy, she said with teary eyes, causing my heart to break. What are you scared of? What if they don't like me because I don't have a dad? Her lips quivered, and I felt my heart stop. I didn't know that she was feeling like this. It just pains my heart even more hearing it from her. I glanced at Luciano and saw that he was mirroring the same expression as mine. At that moment, I made a decision that I could only make. I know that there isn't a better time than this. I tightened my hold on her arm and gave her a soft smile. Look at me, honey, I gently said. She did what I told her to do so, her eyes still glassy with tears. I'm sorry if this took too long, but your dad is finally back. Her eyes widened in surprise, and I heard Luciano take a sharp intake of breath beside me. Daddy's here? She asked. Daddy's back? I nodded my head. Would you like to meet him? She enthusiastically nodded her head. Yes, please, Mommy. I want to meet Daddy. I reached up my other hand toward Luciano and held onto his hand. I saw that his eyes, too, were getting glassy with tears. Mine, too, started tearing up. This was such a special moment in our lives, one we can never forget. Daddy's here, Lucille. I gently tugged on both of their hands, bringing them to touch each other. Lucille gasped as she looked at Luciano with amazed eyes. Daddy?
Talia.
I'm home, sweetheart, Luciano said, swallowing his tears. Lucille got up from her seat and hugged Luciano through the gap between the seats. Luciano removed his seatbelt and engulfed Lucille in his arms, muttering Dad's home to comfort the crying child. I, too, couldn't help but tear up as I watched their long-awaited reunion. For the past 4 years, I've gotten used to being alone. I had already conditioned my mind that Lucille and I would be the only members of our family. Yet here we are. Lucille broke away from the hug, her cheeks stained with tears. Luciano chuckled and sniffed as he held onto both of her cheeks. What are we going to do with you, sweetheart? You're covered in tears. How are you going to make friends at this point? She stopped crying and looked at her dad with wide eyes. Am I ugly now? He threw his head back in amusement while shaking his head. Of course not, baby. You're still the prettiest. He wiped her tears with the pad of his thumbs and fixed her hair. There, he said. All done. You're all ready to go to school now. Lucille smiled, her nerves disappearing into thin air. Then, will Mommy and Daddy fetch me later after school? The two of us nodded our heads. We'll be waiting for you outside your classroom, okay? We'll have lunch together after too. So make sure to make a lot of friends so you can tell us some fun stories. She enthusiastically nodded her head. I'm excited, she muttered. I kissed her forehead. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. Just then, the bell rang, signaling the near start of the classes. Let's go, Lucille. It's time to go to class. I opened the door but was stopped by Luciano. Shall I go with you guys? I shook my head. Just watch over the car. We won't be long. He nodded his head. I walked out of the car and fetched Lucille from the back. Since we had a crying fest in the car, Lucille was the very last one to get to the classroom. It was a good thing that the class hadn't started yet, though. Have fun, okay? She nodded her head. Okay, Mommy. With that, I left the school and went back to the car. Luciano smiled as soon as I entered. Your face is about to rip, I told him, placing on my seatbelt. Well, that's because I'm happy, he said, turning on the engine. You didn't expect that, didn't you? I lightly pushed his shoulders. That was my first time seeing you cry, I think. He shook his head with a smile. And that would be the last time. I smirked. Let's see, I said. I might take back what I said with us starting over. Let's see if you don't cry then. Talia, he said in a serious tone. It's not good to joke about those things. I chuckled. All right. I'm sorry. Stop sulking. He stopped pouting and pressed something on his phone. So, where are we going? I asked. I found a nearby park where we could just rest and all. I packed something so we could have some light snacks before we have lunch with Lucille. My eyes widened in surprise. Are we having a picnic? Yes, Bambi. We're having a picnic.
Sometime later.
Here, I excitedly pointed to the flat and grassy part of the park. There weren't many people since it was a weekday, and most people were probably at school and their workplaces. He chuckled as he placed the blanket down. Are you that happy? I nodded my head. Open the basket, I urged him. It isn't anything much, he said, opening the lid. These are just light snacks since I don't want to make you full for lunch. It's all right, I said. I can eat something heavy and still have the appetite to eat lunch. He chuckled as he laid down the dishes on the blanket. There were different flavors of cake, along with some non-alcoholic beverages. When did you have time to prepare this? He scratched the back of his head. Well, when you and Lucille were getting ready, I thought that I could order some cakes so we could have a picnic. Do you like it? I nodded my head and placed a light kiss on his cheek. I do like it. Thank you, Luciano. He turned to me, surprised that I kissed him. One more, he said. I rolled my eyes. I don't want to. Oh, come on, he whined. Just one more kiss, hmm? I sighed and went closer to him. You're lucky that you're cute. I leaned closer to him to place a kiss on his cheek. But at the very last second, he turned his head to the side, causing my lips to land on top of his lips. Luciano! I scolded him, hitting his shoulder. He chuckled and just accepted my hits. Thanks for the kiss, Bambi. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I rolled my eyes and shoved a piece of cake inside my mouth.
Sometime later.
It was now lunchtime, and that also meant that Lucille's class had come to an end. Being a daycare student, she only has half a day of classes. The two of us pulled up to her school, still a little bit early, since we didn't want her to wait for a long time. When we got there, some mothers were already waiting for their children. I recognized some of them since Amari Coast was such a small town. Mrs. Miller, I greeted her when we made eye contact. Talia, she greeted. Fancy seeing you here. I nodded my head in acknowledgement. What are you doing here? I politely asked. Emily's son started school today. She's in the bathroom right now. I had to accompany her since her boyfriend left her for another woman. My eyes widened in surprise when she revealed the drama in her daughter's life. Oh, and isn't this the handsome guy that was staying temporarily at your house? She gushed when she saw Luciano standing behind me. Good day, Mrs. Miller, he slightly bowed her head. He's still as handsome as ever. Where is my daughter? She looked around the place. I should introduce the two of you to each other. They'll make such a beautiful couple, much better than that scum of a boyfriend that she had. I automatically frowned as soon as I heard her words. I do remember her telling me in the market that she'll introduce her daughter, Emily, to Luciano. I just didn't think that we'd ever gotten the chance to have that opportunity. Actually, I was about to tell her that Luciano and I were actually together, but she spotted her daughter, thus interrupting my statement. Emily, over here, she waved her over. A young woman, about the same age as Luciano, went over to where we were. She was pretty, but definitely not as pretty as me. Her eyes sparkled in delight the moment her eyes landed on Luciano. I pursed my lips together. I fear that I won't like this situation. Emily, this is the guy that I was telling you about, the one that's staying with Grandpa Ferry. Oh, Emily twirled her hair and went close to him. I see that my mom wasn't lying when she said that you're hot.